You're listening to the Team Stripes Podcast.
Everybody, welcome back to the Team Stripes Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Grimaldi, and along with me, my co-host, Brenden Est. What's up, bud? How you doing?
I am living the dream. Hockey's about to be back. Seattle has finally announced their team name. Life is good again.
Indeed it is. We got a full slate of hockey starting today since we're releasing this on Tuesday. I think our first game starts. Let me oh my God, I'm getting blown up here on social media out of nowhere.
Somebody's popular.
I know, right? Let's see here. What time did we say that first game was? So starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be watching some hockey, exhibition hockey, but the real thing gets going on Saturday on the 1st. So it's going to be fun to watch. You excited?
Honestly, I think I'm more excited for the exhibition games right now because everybody's playing a rival. I mean, you got Calgary and Edmonton playing, and last time they played, there was a line brawl and a goalie fight. You got Montreal and the Habs. You have Flyers, Penguins. I mean, every rivalry you could think of in the NHL is played in exhibition.
Yep, and we got Tampa, the Lightning and the Panthers instead of Tampa, Florida. You got Carolina and Washington, Minnesota, Colorado. These are games that'll be on Wednesday. St. Louis, Chicago, New York, and so the Islanders and the Rangers, and then Vancouver and Winnipeg. So we got a full slate over the next couple of days. Life is good.
Wednesday's going to be
Super
beautiful because
Yes,
we got
it is.
hockey literally all day long.
And
12 Eastern
everyone's productivity is going out the window as well.
Absolutely zero starting tomorrow.
Heck yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. And then obviously we just had the announcement of the Seattle Kraken. Pretty exciting stuff there. Cool logo, sweet uniforms. I was pretty happy with it.
So you're a fan of their logo?
I am. I think I'm going to be a Kraken fan. I'll stay away from some of the internet puns that I saw.
I'm not going to lie. Their logo itself, like just the S, wasn't the biggest fan of, but I saw somebody got like a tattoo of it was the anchor and then as like the background, and the S was built in with the anchor.
Oh, that's pretty
looked
sweet.
Really cool. Like
One subtle thing they did on the anchor that I didn't notice at first, the Space Needle is actually hidden in the anchor.
Yeah,
so I thought that was pretty cool. The color scheme fits the Seattle area with the rest of their teams. The nautical theme, like I think they just nailed it.
Now we just have to wait a whole year before they start stealing players from our favorite teams.
Yes, that was such a great troll on their social media. I absolutely loved it.
Whoever's running that social media deserves pay raise after pay raise.
Oh, I could not agree with you more. Hopefully they keep up the trolling just like in a similar fashion to Vegas. What I did see about their merchandise sales was they outpaced Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Like they like their first 48 hours or something like that, they well outsold what Vegas did in merchandise. So that's pretty exciting stuff. 32nd team. We're going to have 16 teams on each side, and it's going to be nice to have balance in the league again. They certainly have a pretty favorable, advantage with the draft and all that. So it'll be interesting to see which players they take. I have a feeling the Lightning are going to lose Tyler Johnson because that's where he's from. So I have a feeling that's going to be the guy that gets taken from us.
Sad days.
Oh, I know. So moving forward with the bubble and hockey getting going, we got to talk about the referee assignments.
Yep. You have that pulled up?
I do. I have it right here in front of me. So we got 10 referees and 10 linesmen in each city. So going to Edmonton on the referee side, we have Mark Jeanette, Steve Kazari, TJ Luxmore, John McIsaac, Brad Meyer, Dan O'Rourke, Brian Pakmara, Chris Rooney, Francois Saint-Laurent, and Kelly Sutherland. Going to Toronto, Francis Chiron, Gord Dwyer, Eric Furlot, Trevor Hansen, Jean Hebert, Frederic Lequier, Chris Lee, the GOAT, Wes McCauley, Kevin Pollock, and Kyle Raymond. The linesmen going to Edmonton. We got Scott Cherry, Ryan Gibbons, Brad Kowalczyk, Keel Murchison. I butchered his last name.
Okay.
Yeah, terrible. Johnny Murray, Pierre Roscoe, Mark Shuchek, Tony Saracolo, Andrew Smith, and Libor. I'm not even going to try to pronounce Libor's last name.
It's just Libor.
He's a fantastic linesman. Love watching that kid work, all hustle. Linesman going to Toronto, Shandor Alfonso, Derek Amell, Steve Barton, Devin Berg, David Brisebois, Michel Cormier, Ryan Daisy, Greg Dvorsky, Mac McPherson, Derek Nansen, and Brian Pansich. Okay, this is weird because Scouting the Refs has out from 2019 Ryan Daisy, but they also have him listed as going to Toronto. So there you go. There's our referees and linesmen for the play-in round / first round of the playoffs. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how they advance. So do you think playing in front of an empty arena is going to have any effect on the referees?
No. I mean, I think it'll make their lives easier for the most part. My biggest thing is what are these – because obviously they're in the bubble with the players. Like, they're staying at the same hotels. Like, are these guys just going to hide away in their rooms? And did they bring their Xbox with them? Or I want to know what they're going to do to pass time.
I can certainly I'm sure one of us can find out what they're doing to pass the time. I know they're following the same protocols as the players as far as testing goes. But as far as killing time, I know they've been there since last week, and Scouting the Refs had a nice story about I guess they've been doing their Zoom calls and getting in some skates and doing what they can to be ready, which I know in talking to a couple of my my buddies at work, they've all been just keeping themselves in shape and just ready to go. So I think game one, they'll be ready just like there was no break.
Oh, 100%. So
they're professionals. It will be interesting, though, because like if you look at some of the stuff on Scouting the Refs, generally the home team ends up getting a couple more power plays than the road team. But it'll be interesting to see what effect being in a neutral site has with no fans on the game, not only for the players but definitely with the referees.
I think it'll be weird for the first probably 5 minutes, and then you always drown it out anyway, so it's not like you're going to hear it. So
exactly.
I'm curious though, what series are you looking forward to the most for like the play? For the play-ins, yeah.
The play-in round? Oh man. I'm just gonna watch all of it because I definitely feel like there are going to be some teams in the play-in round. If they go down 2-0, they're just going to pack it in that third game because one of these teams that loses the play-in round is going to get the first overall pick in the NHL draft. So losing isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world when you have a 1 in 8 chance of getting that pick. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'm more interested in watching the round robin games for the teams that are, the 1st through 4th seed, because I feel like they're going to play hard, but at the same time, it's going to be we're going to play hard, but not hard enough to get hurt.
Yeah, I think for them, as long as – because, I mean, if you win 2, you're either going to be first or second.
Yeah.
So I think if you can win your first 2 games, and then after that, you just kind of breeze it out and you're fine.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting. You've seen the arena renderings? They look pretty cool.
Yeah, they look sick in my opinion.
And actually, I think they're pictures now because I saw the rendering. Which the rendering, by the way, you would think the person on the NHL staff that did that would understand where the referees belong.
Nope.
Instead of putting 3 referees and 1 linesman in the rendering, putting the linesman on the goal line and the 3 whatever, dude.
Yeah,
pay a little more attention to us.
I saw the pictures yesterday, and I thought they looked cool. I mean, I think it'll be cool. I'm excited to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
I wish there wasn't the 5-second delay that they're gonna put for TV for
one
the mics.
one other thing I saw is the NHL got with EA Sports, and they're using their crowd noise algorithm
Oh,
for
interesting.
the crowd noise. So even though there won't be fans, the people on TV are going to hear crowd noise.
Yikes. That'll be
And
interesting.
then yes, it will. We'll see how it goes. It's definitely going to be an experiment in just this whole thing. Like it's, and then on top of all that, I saw they're having, or the NHL had all the teams send in their game audio.
Mhm.
So like when they're the home team, they get their anthem singer and their playlist and their goal horn. So that's going to be kind of cool to see as well.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. Hopefully it like the crowd noise is kind of like how in golf they always add the birds chirping, where it's like you
Oh
hear it,
yeah,
but you don't really associate it like, oh, this is just an audio track looping.
yeah,
Hopefully that's what they do.
yeah. We'll see. And I'm definitely excited to hear the open mics on the ice.
Oh, 5-second delay though, thankfully.
Yep. Yeah.
That'll be
So
interesting.
the playoff grind begins. Our productivity is going to be absolutely zero. I know I'm going to have on my computer multiple games going at the same time
100%.
if needed. It looks like they're pretty well staggered where that won't happen. But yeah, I'm going to be not productive at all.
Nope.
So, and I guess with that, we need to roll into our interview.
Yeah, before
And,
we
Brenden,
get any further.
Why don't you tell us about our guest today?
So on today's episode, we have my best friend, Ethan Trexler. He's a local ref down here in Dallas. Skates a bunch of juniors in college. So without further ado, Ethan Trexler. Our next guest on the podcast is an actual referee, unlike anybody else who we've interviewed before. He works ACHA D1 and D2, as well as he worked the Western States Hockey League down here in Dallas. Please welcome to the Team Stripe podcast, Ethan Trexler.
Thanks for having me, boys. Great to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you on, Ethan. An actual ref today. This is weird.
I know I heard that first episode of Megan's. It was all liney talk. I couldn't follow it at all.
Yeah, it's, for you referees, it's a little tough to follow what we got going on.
Trexler, you work pretty much everything around here in Dallas and then around Oklahoma as well.
Right.
How long have you been reffing? Like, tell people about yourself.
So it started out back in, of all places, College Station, Texas. My family moved there when I was 10 in 2003. They didn't even have a rink when I moved there. So I had to go down to Houston to play my travel hockey, played U18 AA for the Houston Hurricanes. And then after I was done, I wanted to give back to the hockey communities and make a little bit of money. And by then the rink in College Station was built. So the guy who was there, for their beer league and novice league and everything was like, hey, if you want to ref, like, it's up to you, you got it. So I was, all I got to do is go get a crest and certified. So I was like, okay. Never thought it would take me on the path that I went down. That's for sure. But it was actually one reason I moved to Arlington besides school was to actually develop further as an official, because I knew that I would get better schooling and teaching up here and have more opportunity up here. So in 2014, I made the move to finish school at UTA and then, started picking up games here. And a couple of years later, get noticed, and it brings us to where we are now.
So it sounds like you kind of started reffing in a similar situation I did, just get done playing, figure out, hey, I want to referee and make a little extra money. So like
Yeah.
that was the reason behind it.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, as every kid, they want to go pro in the NHL, but when you're a 5'0" goaltender, playing, U16 AA hockey in Texas, I went up to New Hampshire for a couple of times for a couple of showcases, got offered to play Junior C in Leona. Didn't even know where the hell that was. It was apparently on the border, right on the border of New Hampshire and Canada or somewhere. No idea where it was. It was Junior C. So I said, no thanks. I'm going to go to school. Don't want to waste my parents' money paying, $6,000 a year for Junior C, so went to school. And yeah, it was pretty much the same way.
Yeah, sounds about right. I mean, that was very similar to me. My playing days got cut short from concussions, so I decided to pursue refereeing.
Mm-hmm.
So did you end up in the program at all? Like, what was your path?
No, so when I moved here, I contacted our local assigner, and at that time I believe it was still Peterson or Pepsis. It was one of them.
I think it was Pepsis.
Yeah, I think it was Pepsis, and because Coxey was the president at the time of Mahoa. And, he told me, yeah, we'll get you in some games, kind of never happened. And then about 2 years, so for the first 2 years I was up here, I was doing Pee-wee squirts, house and travel, which, I was happy to do. And, I knew I had to pay my dues somewhat because, nobody's going to give the new guy who moves to town without him knowing without knowing anybody, the 18U, triple A's, double A's, and all that. I mean, I worked some 18U double A back in Houston. I'd make the trips down to Houston sometimes on the weekends to go referee. But, my name never got thrown up here in Dallas. So I was like, okay, pay your dues. And then one day I worked with our president of Mahoa now, Scott House, all the way over in Allen. And it was a Bantam game. And he was like, hey, after the game, he was like, hey, who are you? And I was like, oh, Ethan, blah, blah, blah. I told him my story, and he was like, you're pretty dedicated. Like, you skate hard, and you know your stuff. He's like, what's the highest level you've done here? And I was like, Bantam. He's like, what's the highest level you've done, period? And he was like, well, I was back in Houston, I worked some U18 double A, U16 double A, but I haven't gotten any of those here. He's like, well, let me talk to some people. And, took my time eventually, and, one door led to another, started working some U16 double A games the rest of that year. The next year got put on some U18s here, and then AAA, and then I got approached by our local college scheduler here, Michael Robinson, to see if I wanted to work some Western States Hockey League. So I did that line for a little bit just to get used to the pace, switched me over to referee. And then he's also the college scheduler here, so he put me on some college games for D2.
So it sounds like just working hard and hustling and dedicating yourself to learning the craft really paid off for you.
Yeah, that's one thing I actually pride myself on is when I skate. I've always wanted to be, somebody who gets noticed, because I know my size isn't going to get me noticed. So I know I have to, work hard, learn the rules, learn the situations and everything. So, I just put my face to the grindstone and did the work I had to do, and that's what got me to where I was. So
awesome.
You keep bringing up your height. How tall are you officially? Because I say you're 5'2".
5'4.5", 5'5"
Okay.
on a good day.
So at 5'4.5", how do you line? I mean, when you broke into the Western States, how do you line junior hockey? How do you line ACHA D1 or even D2?
So D2, there's not a lot going on in ACHA, at least up here in Texas. The vast skill difference of some teams are very apparent, and so there's not really a whole lot going on those games. Sometimes it's like watching paint dry, but you still got to do what you got to do out there. So for me, it was all about being with the bigger guy, and then whenever there's a scrum or something break out, I'd let the bigger guy get in there first, let him take the aggressor, and then I just go get the other guy. But I was I'll be honest, I was never first in scrums, and I never
sounds about right.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
I'm protecting myself over getting hit with an elbow and getting a concussion. So.
Well, then obviously with your size, you ended up being a referee because that's just kind of the progression for the littler guys. Especially if you got some wheels and clearly you wanted to be a referee as well.
Yeah.
So talk about your let's hear about your experience maybe starting out refereeing, whether it be like some junior games or.
So, the first first U16 game I did up here, it was 2 Dallas teams, obviously, kind of nervous at the beginning, but I was with 2 guys who have been around Mahoa a long time, and they made me feel really comfortable. Sorry, guys, I don't remember who you were. I just know it was two veteran guys, so I apologize if I forget your names. And then I got my first U18 game. Same thing, a little nervous at first, but it was just like U16, except the boys are a little bigger. And then the first AAA game, Tier 1 game, I was, we did 4-man up here, so that was nice. We do 4-man for all U16 and 18 Tier 1 games up here. So, I was with a veteran referee, and I think it was actually Steve Henderson, who's our referee in chief, who I was with for my first AAA game. So, he let me do my thing. He knows what I was capable of walking into it. He's like, don't overthink the game. You know what you're doing. Call the penalties that need to be called. But otherwise, let the boys play. And get the ones that you need to get. Otherwise, these guys are trying to fight for junior spots, college spots. So guys want to see what they can do. So I did that, and then my first junior game. I mean, even lining, I was nervous as all hell. Those guys, it's kind of scary because some of them know what to do with the puck when you're a liney. You'll step
And
off
most
the
of
ball.
them don't.
Yeah, but most of them don't, exactly. So there were times where I was crapping my pants and worried about somebody hitting me. And then my first game in Western States as a referee, very nervous before the game.
Which they still do normal 3-man, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question here. So you said you guys do, 4-man for your U16s and U18s. What was it like going from skating 4-man, doing that, to then going to a junior game being, okay, I'm out here by myself?
Exactly like you said, out here by yourself is the key point.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say by myself because –
well, yeah, it's true. You have your lining partner.
As linesmen,
Right.
we are out there to help, and behind every decent referee is some pretty good
Two good
linesmen.
of course. But,
But yeah,
the
what
only
was
guy out
that
there,
experience?
yeah, as the only guy out there calling the penalties that needed to be called, I was with Craig Soderstrom and Michael Robinson, who are the 2 guys here that do a lot of the Western States games. Mike schedules the Western States games here in Dallas. And it was, they knew the first period. After the first period, I came off the ice and I was like, oh man, that was like really good, right? And they're like, buddy, holy cow, like you got to slow down. Like I was so amped up for the game. I was looking everywhere and I was missing the stuff that was going on a little bit behind the play because I was so worried about, making sure I saw the guy who had the puck and making sure that I was in position to call a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Sounds
those
about
guys,
right.
Yeah, those guys stretch the puck from red line to blue line, and I'm just like, oh my god, and I gotta go, and I always forget about stuff behind the play or I'm skating too fast. So about 4 or 5 games into it, my Western States career, my junior career, I went up to Oklahoma City, and I reffed with a gentleman named Chip Excel. Former CHL linesman.
I know that name. I've heard it a few times.
I did a college nationals here last year, done the Western States finals, I think, 4 times or 3 times, the Thorn Cup. So I was reffing the Saturday game, the middle game, and he was watching me, and he gave me this great piece of advice. Now, of course, it's not USA hockey protocol, but it's what I've done ever since when I'm in the middle of a 3-man game is always stay a zone behind. Because that way everybody's in front of you and you can see all the stuff that's going to go on behind the play. He's like, when you have good liney partners, if there's a stretch pass, they're going to cover you, at least they should. I know you boys would, so I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah.
But you got to watch because a lot of the stuff that I was missing and when I first started was stuff behind the play, like guys getting whacked on the shins or, slash, or not a major butt end, but just like the stuff that like game management stuff where, if you don't see it, it could get out of hand.
When you're just starting out as a referee, it's very easy to overskate.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's what I was doing. Like,
especially if, that's not your thing or you're just, getting into skating the middle and being a referee. Like it's very easy to get so pumped up and so like fired up to be out there that you're zooming up and down the ice trying to keep up with the play Meanwhile, there's a kid laying in a pool of blood in the corner, and you have no idea what happened.
Yep. And, another thing, too, is that my first game, my feedback I got from Mike and Craig was I was just so puck-focused. I wasn't even paying attention to even the field stuff that was in my field of vision that I could see. If there was a hit, off to the side or an interference or whatever, like I would miss it completely because I was just so focused on the puck. So anyway, going back to Chip, he told me this great piece of advice, stay a zone behind the puck because you see everything. And even to this day, when I work as a 3-man, that's what I do. And it's gotten me the reputation of being a pretty, one of the top officials and referees here in Dallas. So.
Awesome. What was I going to say? Oh man, I just lost what I was going to say.
You're good.
Oh, go ahead, Brenden.
Trex, like I get the honor to skate with you up in Oklahoma doing D1 games for the ACHA. You are probably – actually, no, you are the most prepared referee I think I've ever worked with at any level. Can you just talk a little bit about what you would do before the game or even driving up to the game? Like, what is your – what are you trying to do to prepare for the game?
Yeah, so I know whenever we went up typically to Oklahoma, I always had
Stat
2 out of
packs.
the 3. And I always had 2 out of the 3 games of where I was in the middle, whether it was OU, UCO, or UCO, or U, depending on where we were and what the schedule was like. So I remember every time we went up, I would, while I was at work, on a break or whatever, I would go to the ACHA website, pull up the team's rosters of who we're having that weekend. And this still goes true to my junior games. I mean, I don't give it to my lineys anymore like I did you guys, but, I go into the room, I still talk to my guys about, okay, this is who we got to watch. Anyway, so, I mean, remember the first time we were going up there, I had probably a 4-page stapled report of all the teams we were doing.
Yep.
It had the coach's name, where the coach was from, how far they went in hockey, the team's records for the year, how many games they've lost, obviously that's the record.
So it sounds like you really did your homework.
Oh yeah. I had the scoring leaders, I had the PIMS leaders, circled the guys who, we had to keep an eye on. So that way, whenever something happened, if they were on the ice, everybody knew to kind of shift your focus toward that one guy because something was probably going to happen. And I remember our first weekend up there, we were, talking about one of the players, I forgot which team it was from. But then the guy who we were talking about, I think it was Baker's game the second night, he has to do a 5-game report for something. And it was one of the guys that we had circled on the report. And luckily we got in there quick enough to where nothing else happened. But, just mentally preparing, every time I go up on the road, whether it's to, I went to Wichita, Kansas a lot for the Junior Thunder, Oak City a lot, El Paso. So whenever I went out of town or even here for local Snipers games when the Snipers were home, the Western States team here, I always had my homework of who we needed to watch, who the scoring leaders were, what does this game mean as far as if it was late in the season and playoff positioning, or who needed to win, who needed, to move up in the standings to get in. So,
So you were making yourself your own media packet, more or less.
Exactly.
When I do Coast League games or when I used to work in the SPHL, that's what we would get before the game. And we'd sit there and flip through and look at everything and see who we got to watch out for and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool that you were taking the initiative to do that for yourself on, your ACHA or even your junior games.
Right.
It was the most thorough stat pack I ever read as well.
That's pretty
when
impressive.
He's pulling up coaches and where they played, I'm like, why does this matter?
Well, because some guys played in the Coast, and I think one guy we had playing the A. So those guys kind of know what they're talking about. So we just always want to be prepared to make sure that we have our rules down, and making sure the stuff we're calling is the right stuff to call. So.
Talk about the rules really quick, because I know you have a cheat sheet, especially for ACHA with all their funky rules. How do you, as a referee, bounce between every league?
So I think Megan's talked about it too, the cheat sheet last episode.
Yeah.
and I have a cheat sheet as well, but unlike Miggins, mine is everything toward rules that, I don't think about every day. Obviously a hooking is going to be the same in any league, no matter what you do. Tripping is going to be the same, so, where you kind of get the difference is your major penalties, boarding, checking from behind, head contact, stuff like that. So I've also made a cheat sheet for, the different leagues that I work, such as ACHA, Western States. They have an adult semi-pro league here called the Mountain West Hockey League. I have a cheat sheet for that. I even have one for USA Hockey in case, I, forget everything I shouldn't as a level 4, but.
What is this what's that semi-pro
so
league?
It's called the Mountain West Hockey League.
Okay.
They call it a semi-pro league. It's pretty much former D1 players, East Coast players, Central League players, who kind of want to stay like with an organized.
So it's like a really good men's league.
With checking.
It's called Men's A Checking.
Okay.
So it's like a senior A in Canada.
But it has the NHL rule book, and these guys can fight as well.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So it's the NHL rule book with a few tweaks here and there. But, I mean, there's teams there's like 2 or 3 teams in California. There's one in either Kansas City or St. Louis. They have 2 teams up here in the Metroplex in Fort Worth and Dallas. And then there's
Colorado.
Colorado has a team.
Does Utah have a team?
I don't think so. I don't know for sure. I mean, I only worked probably 4 games last year, and it was 3 of the 4 of them were the Barracuda and Titans. So
that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
Probably
I mean, it's a cool experience. It's a cool experience. I mean, you got full grown ass men going out there, like, and they go hard. Like, they treat that stuff like it's, game 7 of the cup, and it's really cool to see because, like, those guys love playing hockey and they're out there for the love of the game, because they're not getting paid, and most of the time, depending on, if you got a good sponsor or not, you're paying your way out, like the guys from California to come out here to Texas or, Colorado to Texas. So those guys are doing it for the love of the game, and they go hard every time they play out there. And, like most of the time they're out there, trying to have fun too. But, there is times where stuff does hit the fan and, you got to know your rules for that one too. So I have a cheat sheet for that league, but, I go over my cheat sheet for every, whatever game I'm doing before the game, whether it's ACHA, Western States, USA, even USA Hockey. I like to open up the rule book before I get on the ice just to, refresh myself if there's anything, that's going to happen.
Since we're talking about some rule book stuff and, we all 3 of us do ACHA, I saw today NCAA made some changes to their rule book. So no more spinorama goals on penalty shots or shootouts, but the big one's going to be choosing the side of the ice you want for icing and power plays, which I got to experience with the ECHL this year, which wasn't terrible, but it's definitely going to be interesting to deal with at the ACHA level. How do you feel about using that if ACHA ends up adopting that from?
Oh man, that'd be kind of. I think for D1 it would have a big effect because those guys are there.
They're pretty good hockey players.
Yeah, I mean, those are guys who have played NA, some Western States maybe depending on where you're from, USPHL. So, those guys kind of, are really, really into the game. And I think, at that level, you have coaches kind of strategically planning more versus at the D2 level, lower D2 level, I don't think it will, have that big of a change. I think it's just going to be annoying to have to look at the coach and be like, oh, hey, what side of the ice do you want?
Yeah. I think that's going to be the thing with that is especially – I know around here, like for us, it's mostly D3, so – it's going to be fun saying, hey, you get to pick which side of the ice.
And I bet you the kids won't even know it. I bet you the kids and coaches won't even know it.
No, probably not. That's going to be the job of the back referee.
Yep, 100%.
And I'm really hoping we get just everyone goes to 4-man in ACHA because here we do 2 and 1.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
By choice of the teams in the area. So yeah, so that'll definitely be an interesting change when the season does eventually get started.
Sorry, boys, fixing my camera.
You're good.
All good, dude. All good.
So my question is though, when you're in a 3-man. Whose job is it going to be to ask the coach what side you want on? Because the ref's
it's
doing a line
usually
change, obviously.
Yeah, well, usually the ref or the linesman who's marking the spot also kind of looks.
And you just hope they're paying attention.
Yeah, so like with my experience in the ECHL with it, and even watching like the NHL, the centers know what's going on, and as they're coming on the ice, they're going to point.
Mhm.
Or like as a linesman, if you know the center, you're probably already gonna, okay, I know that guy likes to always go to this side, so you're probably going to go there anyway. So it's just a matter of picking up on whether the coach points it out or the center does. It's usually pretty quick. They got used to it pretty fast.
Yeah, and typically 9 times out of 10, centers want it on their backhand because that's their strong side. So
Yep, exactly. Sidebar to refereeing, how did you feel about the Seattle Kraken and the logo and all that today?
Boy, the logo. I was excited for the announcement. It's pretty cool. Seattle's gonna have a team, 32 teams in the NHL, top it all out, make it even again. Brenden sent our group chat the jerseys. Jerseys look sick, like the
100%.
jerseys. Jerseys, color schemes, everything looks good. Can't wait to see what the building's gonna look like. Don't like the logo. I feel like they could have done so much more with the logo. Like put an actual Kraken on there, or I don't know, an S. It looks like a.
I liked the S just with the throwback to the original Seattle Metropolitans. So like I don't know, I thought they nailed it. Like they went the safe route. I think all the fans wanted that Kraken name.
Yeah.
So I think they nailed it. So.
Is it the only team in the NHL now without an S at the end of it?
No, there's a couple others. The Lightning, the Kraken, right. The Avalanche,
I couldn't name them all off the top of my head.
I'll come up with the other one, but those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head.
Toronto?
No,
they're the Leafs. Come on, they're not the Leaf.
I think their new logo, though, like the first time I saw it, it looked like a cobra with the red eye and then just a random octopus going through it. I thought they missed on the logo, but the jerseys are beautiful. The color schemes are beautiful, but the logo is just –
well, they could use a future Big Kraken for an alternate third jersey in the future.
They could.
Which would be sick.
That would be.
All right, so enough of the sidebar about that. What's your favorite thing about officiating?
Honestly, it's talking to the boys you're crew with, but then also establishing a rapport with some of the players. Over the years, you've developed, rapport with these players. For instance, some guys here in Dallas, you know them all the way from when they're a, Bantam all the way up through midgets. And then, whether they stay here to go to college and play locally, or some guys even go up to Oklahoma or UCO to play D1. Or they stay here and do juniors. You just kind of see them around the rink, and they're like, "Oh, hey, man, like, what's up? What are you doing here? Like, are you doing our game? Or you're there to play your league while they have a game." So
it's always nice when you go to the rink and the boys are like, "Hey, are you doing our game?" And then they're happy about it.
Yeah, I've gotten that reaction more than I've been unhappy. So I think I'm doing okay.
Truth. Yeah,
I love you up in Oklahoma.
And I'd have to agree with, favorite part of officiating is the camaraderie and the boys. Like,
I think that's what's, what makes it different from everything else is just because you have, like Megan said last episode, you just have this small family and nobody realized like how tight the family is until you get into it. But after you're in, it's awesome.
That's the truth. We got friends all over the place, You always got a bed to sleep on or a couch to sleep on wherever you are.
100%.
So do you do anything locally, like training other officials or mentoring or like what do you like giving back, I guess, to the association? Do you any
that kind of stuff? Whenever every summer one of the local associations here in Mahoa puts on except this summer obviously due to COVID, but every summer our training program here puts on new officials not seminar, but instructional class. It's like a 4 or 5 week, kind of get together with people who in the Dallas area are interested in maybe becoming a referee. Our local association will get an hour of ice, and we'll do some small ice drills, on basic positioning, basic skating, and so I'm out there helping our instructors do that. And then I'm part of I'm a mentee for our mentor program. So guys who they're looking to bring up to do the higher level games, U18, AA, U18, AAA, all that stuff.
Awesome.
I get paired with a new guy or a newer guy. Only at 27 now, I'm considered, I guess, a wily veteran to be put on a game to where there's a new guy coming up and, they'll say, hey, can you watch this guy, see how he does in this kind of game. So, I do that. I just want to help guys move up.
You're only 27, but, you got a lot of experience and you've done a lot. So
yeah,
it's awesome that they rely on you and they have the faith in you to be able to go out and do that.
And I think it's cool, too, because I can tell them, look, I'm Mahoa grown, too, and this is what I've done. I started when I moved here not doing these level games, and then through hard work and everything, getting noticed, I've done all these other games, and, I've even had the pleasure to travel to other places to, do higher level games. So, if you work hard as I did and you put your nose to the grindstone, like, it'll pay off. So.
Yep. We have a similar here with myself, and then we have another guy here, Charlie O'Connor, who we've both done quite a bit. Charlie doing a lot more than me, and it's you get to say, hey, I came up through for you Dallas, or for us, here in Tampa. Like, here's what we've gotten to do because of our great game of hockey and being officials. So, there's so many doors that can be opened from when you end your playing days and start officiating.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, those ODP boys who are down here in Texas this year, and they're ready to go to El Paso because El Paso joined the NA3.
Okay.
You boys are going to have a blast.
It cannot wait.
Kicker down there. What they do down there, I mean, they treat the officials right. They have 3,000 people packed in that barn every night. They sell out every night. They have big jumbotrons on both sides. They have, 6 or 7 cameras that follow the puck just like an NHL game. I mean,
that's pretty awesome.
Corey Herman does it right down there in El Paso. He does it good.
That's pretty cool.
Trexler, reffing up in Oklahoma is obviously there's not too many guys, I think, that listen to this podcast from Oklahoma that ref in Oklahoma. What is that like? What's the ACHA D1 up there with UCO and OU? Like, how good is that hockey?
For college hockey, in the South, it is tip tops for me. I don't think you'll go further south and find obviously a better two college programs to play hockey for. If you're a kid growing up in Oklahoma or Texas and you think you're, decent hockey player, those are where you can go. But even for officials, if you want to get to the top of the ACHA pinnacle, and you're living in the South, like, there's a realistic shot for you to get there. You just got to know the right people and work your bag off when you're skating, try to get noticed. It can be a little intimidating at first, especially in UCO's barn. UCO puts about 1,000 people in their barn versus, OU probably maybe 100 on a good day. And those UCO fans, especially down in that student section, they let you hear it and they don't care what they say about you. It can be anything from, talking about your mother to a kind of profession that other people do that you may not necessarily want to do yourself. But all in all, it's a good time. I mean, it gets you going. You can barely have yourself thinking in the OU barn. I mean, it is loud. It's pumping. The energy's great. And, I haven't had the chance to do a Civil War yet when they play OU. You have,
Yep.
Brenden. But, I mean, I've heard it's just an absolute nightmare as far as, like, how the game is. Not necessarily a nightmare, but it's a crazy game, crazy stands. I mean, it's loud. It is loud.
I mean, I remember doing the Civil War at UCO. And at their rink, the seats start at the board, so at like half. So like everybody's over the glass, and there was probably 1,500 people in there, and you just could not think. And it's, I mean, the civil war between UCO and OU, I remember, so they played a Friday, Saturday. Friday night was 2 periods of straight murder ball. Nobody played hockey. Everybody was looking to just kill each other. Third period, they all kind of calmed down. And then the next game, it was just murder ball for 3 periods. And it's goalie makes a routine glove save. And next thing you know, we have a scrum because the goalie made a save. And nobody knows why. But that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think, though, my favorite was going up there. It was with you, and I think it was with Baker. And it was at UCO. And me and you were lining. And you came into the locker room. I think it would have been after the second period. And you just had the look of like something hurt you. And I remember me and Baker looking at you and we're like, hey man, like are you good? Like what's up? And you're like, yeah, man, like these fans though, like, man, they're kind of mean. And we're like, oh, well, what did they say? And I don't even know how to put this. One of them asked you nicely, due to your height, if you might work in the adult industry. And I just remember me and Baker just dying laughing. And you were just like, I mean, like, how do I answer that? I mean, to me, that was honestly hilarious, because the kid was obviously intoxicated out the wazoo. But, like, how do you deal with that stuff?
For me, I don't really let what other people say about my officiating ability get to me, because I know that if I were to hand them over a whistle, one, they probably aren't a great skater, so there's no way to do it anyway, and two, they don't know the rule book like it. They don't, in all reality, they don't know hockey like you do, and what is actually a felony and what's not. So for me, a lot of time, 99% of the time, it's in one ear and out the other. Like, somebody can come up to me after the game and say, hey man, like, that guy called you a freaking loser. Like, he says you don't know any of the rules. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't hear him at all. Because whenever I'm refereeing, I'm just so in tune with the game, and you got to keep an eye on everything that's happening and looking at everything that's happening. I hardly hear anything anybody says, in all honesty. And if I do, I just let it go in and one out the other. It doesn't bother me at all. And I think that's kind of the attitude you have to have, especially if you're going to be a referee, because the ball is on you way more, the camera's on you way more, and if you, start having, mental breakdowns after every period, you come off the ice because of somebody or something that somebody said to you, you're not going to have a good game. You're not going to be able to develop as an official you want to, become. And, you kind of got to have thick skin. You can do what you got to do at times, as far as like maybe if they say something super mean, point to the security guard and get them the hell out of there, but, otherwise for me, it's just thick skin. And honestly, like I said, I don't hear a lot of it. So.
All right. Well, I think with that, we're going to wrap up this interview. So, Ethan, thank you for coming on. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And hope you have a great season.
Thanks, dude.
Hopefully it happens. Kind of nervous about that, but hopefully we'll get a season going here. And thanks for having me, boys.
Yep, anytime.
Yeah. Thank you.
Y'all take care.
Thanks.
Take it easy. Well, we hope you enjoyed our interview with Ethan. I know it was cool getting to know him. Another guy that one of these days when I get out to Dallas to actually meet Brenden in person and skate with, another guy that I definitely want to be able to get on the ice with.
Yeah, you should definitely come down for Labor Day because we need all the bodies we can get that weekend.
Dude, if I leave here for another Labor Day tournament, my scheduler is going to shoot me. I always do the Labor Day tournament up in Orlando, and it's just kind of like we have our core group of guys that have been going to the Orlando Labor Day and MLK tournament for the last at least 10 years. But last year we had a huge tournament here in Tampa, and my scheduler gave me so much crap that I was going to go do the Orlando one. And I'm like, dude, I didn't realize how big our one here has gotten just because I've been doing the Orlando tournament. So if I were to leave, oh my God, he might get really mad at me.
Yeah, we're lucky in Dallas where our Labor Day tournaments are pretty much, I think, our biggest tournament of the year because it kickstarts our season. It's like the travel league uses it as a seeding tournament as well going into the season. So for like the different, from AA to single A.
Okay.
And so I think last year it was like 400 plus teams were here from squirts to 18s. Like it was
cow,
insane.
that's wild. I've been out there once. I flew out there, and it's funny. It's kind of messed up because the day I got there, I remember getting off the plane, waiting on my baggage, and it was when they had announced or when they had found Heath Ledger in his apartment overdosed or whatever happened to him. But yeah, that's something that I'll never forget about that trip to Dallas was I got off the plane and it was all over the news that Heath Ledger had died.
Yikes.
But it was, yeah. Kind of a morbid way to remember a hockey trip.
That's one way to remember Dallas, I guess.
But I do remember that tournament being a lot of fun, and it certainly set me up because the following year, I got really into the program full time and all that. So that was a good stepping stone tournament for me.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun one.
Yeah. But yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and call it a day. I think everyone, hopefully you enjoy watching the games this next week. And I think one of our plans with the stream or with the podcast is we're going to try to do some live streams on Twitch. We'll put out the link. It's going to be twitch.tv/GoTeamStripes. And on those Twitch streams, we'll probably do some watch-alongs with some games. So if anyone wants to watch some hockey with us, feel free to do so.
100%. We'll also be coming out with another episode, I guess, next Tuesday, so a week from now, out in August. And we look forward until then.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll catch up with you later. And everybody, thank you for listening to the Team Stripes podcast. And we'll be back next week.
Thanks, guys.